about this on the air. Whoops, that came out. We're live, brother.
We're live.
We were gabbing and
Well, you said you were behind, and like Mama always said, it's always better to be a little ahead than a big behind.
Well, I got both. Man. Ian says he's got to leave us. He's having a great week, not able to stick around today. Well, Ian, I'm really sorry to hear that. So we fully expect you to make every effort to, get on your phone or, say hello or tell the work people you're just too busy with us. Because I'm sure that would go over well. Good morning, Carol. How are you? You want to say hi to Carol this morning? He ain't up yet. I got up early, but I move slow, so which is kind of a good thing for the topic today. I set my height too high. I think I set my heights a little heights. My sights a little high. I've had gobs of pictures. Could have got gobs more, and then after collecting gobs of pictures of
you lost them all.
Of things I wanted. Some of them aren't in my folder, so I don't. Oh, I need to close my door. Hang on. Where's my mouse? Here, mousy, mousy. Damn you. Brenda Pruitt. Now that you've yelled at me for not shutting the door. Oh. Well, other than you're freezing, you're cold. How cold is it this morning? Hey, what was I? Wait a minute. How did they used to do that on Hee Haw? They used to do some kind of weather forecast. Hey, Grandpa, how's the weather? And he'd say cold or rainy or something. I can't remember how he responded.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that?
Well, I believe you. I just don't remember how I thought they always asked him what was for supper.
Oh, well, maybe I'm getting that mixed up then with something else. They did ask him what.
He'd talk about black-eyed peas and collards and possum on a half shell.
All manners of things. Anyway, I lost a few.
You did what?
Apparently. Well, I had all these great pictures for today, and
you gotta get that figured out, brother.
Well, I have almost everything, but there's like some. Carol put a turtle on the screen, on the chat screen anyway. I put them. I know I put them in there. I saved them to the file, and I've got almost everything I did. So there's just an odd number of things that just didn't stay. I couldn't find some slider pictures. I couldn't find some hairpin pictures. Brenda said you had so many. Yeah, and I probably had too many. I got my slide program is probably longer than Ian would want to set for it anyway. I got 27 slides and I ran out of time. But that'll probably be plenty for the day. Time we get some sidebar collaborating and parlaying about them, I'm sure we'll have plenty. So how cold is it, did you say?
Well, when I got up before daylight, it was -12, and I don't know what it is now. It's negative.
Almost short sleeve shirt weather though, huh?
Well, the wind's not blowing, so it really makes it kind of pleasant. I mean, like I think I told you yesterday, I was out
That's why I'm saying that.
fixing my mare, and I was literally in a t-shirt out there, no gloves, felt great. Was Sun was shining and the wind wasn't blowing. And I came in the house after I got done vetting her, and I figured it was probably 30 because they had talked about us warming up a little bit. And I came in and looked at our thermometer, and it was 8.
Well, that's a little bit warmed up, isn't it?
But the day before that, it wasn't much colder than that, but the wind was blowing pretty good, and it was -35 wind chill. So that felt awful.
You live in that country where we used to joke about weather. You know what a windsock is on an airport.
Yeah.
They're usually bright orange, and they
We use log chains.
out there you got. That's what I was gonna say. Out in those windy areas, they used to joke and they use log chains, and depends on how many links are hanging down whether or not you can come in.
What's them little green things?
Those are little turtles.
Oh, they're turtles. I got it.
Can you see them there better?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they can put those in from the chat. And Carol somebody was telling me it was Diana, I think, which I haven't seen yet. I thought they'll probably be here in a minute. Said there was something else on here where you could pick different. Well, that's funny. The turtles look different on this where we're looking than they do over here where they're in the chat window on YouTube. Huh. Interesting. She showed me something the other day.
They ain't got no tail.
Well, they don't know better.
They don't know what a turtle looks like.
Oh, and most of them on here, most people, they don't engage with your audience. Well, I thought I was engaging with my audience. Oh, start a poll, start a Q&A. Well, that's what I'll do. I'll try that sometime. How does that work? Let me see. Oh, it's like a one question thing. But they were showing me that you could click on something here and make. Last week, Tina's out turtle Brenda by 2. The great turtle fight is on. Anyway, she was putting somebody was putting little floaty things in there. And I don't know if you can see them. You probably never saw them over here on this chat where you and I are sitting. And you don't have the YouTube open like I do over here to see chat. I don't know why I do it. I can do it all from here if I wanted to. But over here it looks different. And you can see emojis and icons and Brenda, that's seashells. That ain't got nothing to do with turtles. Are those whelks?
Turtle battle.
Oh no, more turtles. The turtle battle is on 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. She's out turtle Tina by 2. Anyway, something new that YouTube's done apparently, and I didn't even know it. Sea turtles.
MR2 ducks.
MR2 ducks. What about sea turtles, Tina? I've got some on here. That's what your sales like Herbie lives in. Oh. Okay.
I'm plumb lost.
She's talking about, she put seashells in the chat. You probably can't see. You may not be able to see them. Well, yeah, they're over there. And she said, I think what she's trying to say is that's what your shells like hermit crabs live in, is what she's talking about. and they do sometimes. We got a hermit. She's got a hermit crab up there now. She calls Hermie 2.0, 3.0. He's grown into big. He look pretty good sized shell, and he's in a big. I don't know whatever kind of shell that is that she put up there, sort of. And he disappeared one day. And Brenda said, "I'm afraid Herbie's dead." And I said, "What do you mean dead? He shouldn't be dead." And she said, "Well, I can't find him." And underneath the rock, we finally found what looked like what was left of his body and a big claw on it. He was shedding. And when he got through shedding, it looked like he'd grown about 3 sizes. And that claw looks like it's almost big enough to eat. I hear that.
What's that got to do with turtles?
Nothing, but she brought it up. Tulip shell. Okay, no. Hey, Diana, good morning. Get back on topic, Brenda. No more aquarium talk. Well, you can, I guess. Here in a minute, I was just kind of waiting until Diana and maybe Mike got here, because I've got something for them too. Oh, dang, I didn't put that in there. I got a picture of the biggest turtle in the whole wide world, and it's at the border station, crossing station in Canada. And I ain't never been up there, so I haven't been in it for sure. How's Canada this morning? I think they told me yesterday they'd had a bit of a heat wave, or a warm up anyway. I thanked her for the Arctic air they're pushing down.
They keep sending us their vortex.
Yes, I know. That's what I was talking about.
I'd kind of like them to keep it for a while.
Oh, well, I suggested that too. Oh, we see how it is. Tim, you're waiting for the A-list folks. Carol, I'm waiting just for more folks. I'm just waiting for more folks. She says it's not bad today. Now, see, if she's like you, that could mean it's 8 above, or Fahrenheit anyway. They may consider that short and t-shirt weather. I was not. Carol, you're A-list people. I just didn't want to make, the Canadians feel bad. Yeah, can you see that right there? Hold it right there.
That's my farm right now. Aerial view.
And with horse tracks in it, and probably mule deer hiding somewhere in there.
And lots of deep snow.
Lots and lots of deep snow.
Not very many plants visible.
Tina says it's in the mid-20s up there.
Holy buckets.
I got something here that says it's 13 or 33 at my house. That's current. Yeah, looks like it might be.
At your house, it's 33?
Well, here in Knoxville, it's 33, yeah. That's what it says right now. It may be not a current temperature, although they usually do that at the top of the hour. Well, by 11 a.m. it's supposed to be 38 and 42. Looks like looks like we might get up to 50 today. I'll get out in the sun and show off and send you a picture. How about that?
There you go. My father reminds me all the time that I live in a stupid place.
It's not stupid. It's just cold. I think I will throw my screensaver up. And that will, not my screensaver, but my start of my slideshow, so that is if I can do it again. Good thing I started. How did I do that? I got the picture on both sides again. Oh, Carol, somebody, you helped me fix this last week.
You need to write down these instructions and have them right there handy.
Nah, I can remember all this stuff.
Yeah. We do this every week.
Well, this is kind of new. This started when I updated my. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe it's right here. Actually, I'm having more trouble right now finding my damn mouse, but or my I'm losing it, folks. I may be about to crack my pointer or whatever. What's that thing called? I can't think.
The cursor.
Cursor.
I think maybe.
I'm glad you knew.
Maybe that ain't a cursor.
Yeah, I think it is.
The little arrowhead thingy.
It is an arrowhead, that's for sure. Okay, that says duplicate swap. What are you seeing? Are you seeing anything?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't see nothing but what we've been having. Just you and I. That's all I see.
All right, what's going on here?
Morning, John.
Morning, John.
10 a.m. came quick this morning.
Yeah, there's a bad habit of doing that sometimes. Oh, I know why you weren't seeing it. I didn't present it. But why it wasn't on both? I mean, why I was.
You didn't present it to what?
Okay, maybe now I've got it fixed. Well, I forgot to present it to you. That's why, or put it on. That's why you weren't seeing it.
I still don't see it.
Well, you won't yet. I'm working on that right now. I think. Hey, Tony in Ohio, Phantasmic Chronicles, and John, the Surf Bum, is with us. I came back in where I can see things. Bear with me, guys. I'm having another brain fade here. Now I don't even know how to get rid of this. And here I thought I had it all fixed out. Figured out. Okay, I think I got that part. Get up there. I'll go ahead and present it that way. When we're ready, we can do that. No, that's not what I want it to look like. I left you running things, didn't I?
What?
I left you running the store there for a minute.
Oh, I was just looking outside.
Must have my monitors marked wrong. No, it's number 1. I heard that.
Yeah, I dropped a piece of flint on the floor.
That's Flint. That sounded like metal.
No, it was just a piece of flint.
Guys, thanks for keep talking there, conversing while I show my ignorance.
Here, come here. See, hey, come here. Come here. Oh my God, you've gotten big. There, say hey.
Hey there, Boudreaux.
Say hey to everybody. Show yourself. Show yourself.
He's getting like Teddy. He's getting shy. You don't want to get in front of the camera.
Man, he's just big and awkward now.
Well, I'm sure that's true too.
We've decided we're going to have to cut his wages.
Oh, really? He's not doing his job?
No, he's getting too big.
Oh, okay, gotcha. He works for food. Gotcha.
Yeah. It's been too cold for him to be out running and chasing and whatever.
Well, his problem is the snow's too deep.
Yep.
Ain't enough pathways out there for him.
I only have about maybe a third of my fence posts showing now. So the snow is really deep.
Brenda has all kinds of new countertop space, but I have a big mess down here where I dump my coffee grounds on my table. She don't know about that yet. Carol, help. I think you helped me the last time with this. Maybe you didn't. I've got it on the #1 monitor, but that's not how it's showing up. John asked you a question, Mark.
Ask you a question. Let me see.
He said scroll back a little bit.
Sorry, John. I'm like.
Yeah, I've got to share. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I'm going to talk. I'm talking to Carol, so ignore me. Otherwise, Carol. Hang on a minute. I got a whole new view.
So, John, I'm only about 70 miles from.
Maybe that was
Afton.
When I blow it up, Carol. Let me see if it's still.
I don't know if you heard that or not.
It's blowing up on my. I'm getting the enlarged version for some reason onto my screen. It bounces over and covers up my screen. Well, that's little though. I want to make it big so you can see it better, Tina. I've got the share tab, but it's still bouncing over to the wrong screen. When I put it up large, it doesn't go on to. It ain't going to YouTube. It's coming back, bouncing back onto me.
Well, hit the view the slideshow.
Well, I did, and that's what I'm saying. You guys aren't seeing it when I do that. It's just popping up on my other screen here for some reason. Wait a minute, maybe I can do this. Let's see if I can shift it. Okay, now I got it. Yay! I did that a while ago. I swear I did. All right, there's the start picture. See that turtle right there looking at us? Hey, what are you looking at, buddy? I couldn't find that picture on my sheet this morning. So it's a good thing I put it on there last night. Thanks, everybody. I do need to work on that. Okay, what was John asking? Because I totally missed that.
He was wondering how far it was from my house to Afton. And it's not, as the crow flies, John, it's only probably about 40 miles, but you can't get there. You can't get there from here in a crow flying manner because there's a big mountain range between us.
Unless you're on a helicopter.
And then I'm about, I don't know, 2.5 hours from Jackson.
Well, I got a nasty cut right there, Tedward. It looks like your work, buddy. I tell you what, his conscience don't bother him. He don't have a bit of trouble sleeping ever.
I don't need to be any closer to Jackson, Wyoming than I am right now.
Tell her how far it is, though.
It is not. Well, I said it's about 2.5 hours. It is not. It is not. It's like if you've ever seen the movie Dumb and Dumber, and when the boys land in Aspen, Colorado, and they got their fringe gauntlets on, and their big, stupid, tall cowboy hats with a dead chicken on the front of it. That's the way Jackson Hole is. It's not. It's not like the rest of Wyoming.
Yeah, it turned real touristy on them.
Well, it's the most wealthy county in the country.
In the country?
In the country.
Wow.
So the billionaires have kicked the millionaires out of that country. You can't afford a house up there. You can't. I mean, regular folks can't live there. You got to live like in Driggs, Idaho or somewhere. If you work in Jackson, you don't. Most folks don't live in Jackson. They can't afford it.
Hang on a minute. Mike, you go, buddy. Don't hang around here. I hope he's okay. He says he's got to take his dad to urgent care because he fell. Carol, I could do that. I could do that show. I've done something like that before. I don't remember if I had the turtles in it or not. That's a good idea. Happy together. Oh, you don't want me singing it, though. I can tell you that. Tina wants to know if it's even richer than Arlington, Virginia.
Yeah, it's literally if you look up counties in America, it's got more gazillionaires than any county in the states. And none of them live there. They have homes there, but none of them live there for real. Part of the year when it's nice.
I guess it depends on how you're counting it. Because I see some places saying that there's other places, but Jackson Hole's right, definitely one of them if it's not the. Interesting factoid here. And I read something about this the other day, actually, in a book I was reading. It before the Civil War, the wealthiest counties in America were primarily located in Louisiana and Mississippi. There was a high number of enslaved people who were not included in the population. So they counted less people for the income they had. And I did just read about that. There was an area in Mississippi. Where did I see that? I don't know, Brenda, do you remember us watching something? That says, yeah, Loudoun County, Virginia says they have the highest median income, but I didn't look down through there and see if Jackson Hole might just be not necessarily income, but just wealth accrued.
Yeah, they ain't working up there. All
Yeah.
these rich people, they're not lifting a finger. But
Oh, I know what it was. It was when I was talking about the river. Oh, what was I talking about? River trips. Anyway, Natchez, Virginia, Natchez, Mississippi became. I thought it was. I always thought it was just a trading town along the river. Pioneers stopped there and traded goods their dumped off their goods and then headed back towards north on the trail a lot of times. But apparently over the years it got to be a huge for a while. Now it's all got wiped out pretty much during the war, but that county, whatever it was, had just several. There's only a handful of people there that really owned anything, and they were all big, huge cotton farmers. And at that time, for that time period, cotton was really king. It was making them. It was selling all over the world. I know they grew cotton in Egypt and Africa before that, but I don't know. I guess because of the way they had to. Mike said, "Thanks, everybody." I'm sure on his way out the door. I hope his dad's okay. All right. Since Mike's gone, we'll go ahead and start turtle talk. So get you a nice, comfortable seat there around the fire, and pour you a cup of go juice, and we'll hit
it
the road.
looks like a teepee up in Jackson Hole.
Well, it doesn't say it is.
Well, you and I never slept in a teepee that looked like that.
Well, that's true. You got a point there. We never slept in one that looked nearly that nice, or that comfortable. I mean, look, there's cushions on the ground to sit on against that backrest, and pillows over here. I mean, it might even be on the borderline of too many pillows, but and they've even got a little library set up back there. Hell, we never had a library.
There ain't no bed where there's supposed to be a bed in the back.
Well, that might be a bed back there. It's just you can't see it well. It looks like it's pushed back and it's scrunched up. So it might be, but you're right. It might not be either. They may not understand the significance. Okay, anyway, moving on. I want to talk about turtles.
Back to turtles.
After I show my screen about hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel possibly, and leaving a comment. And if you do any of those three things, thank you. So I thought I'd start out with tortoises. And in the United States, some of these, if not all of these tortoises, are also related to gopher turtles, and they're actually most of them are in the Gopherus. I think it's Gopherus family, and but they're still listed as tortoises, like the bottom one down there. And they talked about how these tortoises tend to have really smooth shells, and sometimes you can see the definitions of the scales and stuff because they're always sliding in and out of sandy burrows, and it literally sands their shell casing, their shell. There's another name for that, but anyway, the shell, not the carapace. That's bottom. Anyway,
that's the top.
Carapace is the top.
Yeah, plastron is the bottom.
Yeah, okay, carapace. Then they tend to sand it off. Fun fact here, guys: if you can see the picture well enough, if you look really closely to these scales, especially these kind of on the back, you can see all those little concentric lines going around the shell, the different scales of the shell. those are a lot like fish scales, and you can count those to tell the age of the turtle sometime, at least on some of them. Maybe all of them, but I know you can on some. And that's why they age fish too. They'll take the scale, full of scale, take it back to a lab where they can stick it under a microscope, and some poor grad student gets to count all the rings to figure out how old the fish is. The biggest tortoise in this country is this one that's mostly in Mexico, and I know I put its name in here somewhere.
The desert tortoise.
Well, the desert tortoise, yeah, it is. Did you ever see those, Mark? Were you ever in Chihuahua?
We had them in there, but they're clear up into Nevada. We had them all over western Arizona.
Were they the same turtle? Same tortoise?
Yeah, they're desert tortoises. That's their real name. They go all the way up into southern Nevada. That same species.
Okay, so it's the same guy. It's not a subspecies or something.
Well, they might be a subspecies, but it's the same species.
How big do they get?
What's that?
How big are they? I read somewhere that these guys are supposed
to be
yay
big.
Okay.
Biggest one I ever saw was probably the carapace, was probably 12 inches long or 13 inches long. They don't get like Galapagos tortoises or anything like that.
Oh, no, they're nowhere near that big. It's just the biggest one we have listed in this country. And
then Florida has one.
Well, they have gopher turtles. They just call them gopher turtles down there, though.
Yeah, but they're a tortoise as well.
They are. But it's kind of confusing. But I was going to tell that here in a minute, because if you look them up, they're listed under tortoises and gopher turtles, and the gopherus.
Yeah.
Family. And so that makes it a little bit confusing, because they don't always call them tortoises, but they are in the same family. So yes, they are. For example, right here, we got gopher turtles. Florida gophers aren't warm-blooded, furry four-footers. They're a tortoise. I had that explained to me early on in my life in Florida. Was gopher turtles they're not gophers. They're turtles. We got gophers down here. A native Floridian and I had that discussion when we first met about gophers. And I said, gophers are, little furry critters that stick their head up out of the ground. No, they're not. Oh, yes, them are. Oh, no, they're not.
Well, they both dig holes in the ground.
They both do dig holes in the ground. And that's what I've shown here. We got one sticking his head out of a burrow. If you really look at that, it's kind of turtle shaped. I mean, a dome, rounded, I guess, yeah, well, that almost be an oval, half an oval. And then the bottom's more or less flat. But the critical part about this is, dude, since there's been so much development in Florida over the last 100 years, 50, 75 years, at least since Disney's been there. Well, that's Central Florida, but the Florida migration's been going on for quite a while. What'd they say?
And now John's talking about groundhogs.
Or woodchucks. Yeah, see, somebody says, are we talking gophers or tortoises?
Yes.
But they're not furry. A lot of people think of a gopher, like I said, as a furry critter, like a prairie dog kind of thing or something. But that's not. If you go to Florida, they'll argue with you about that, or at least the old timers will, because probably the newcomers down there don't even know what it is. But how much wood does a woodchuck chuck? If a woodchuck could chuck wood, what did Carol add?
About as much wood as a woodchuck could, if a woodchuck could chuck wood.
And the other part about that's bad, not only is that hurting the populations of Florida's specific gopher turtle, and they do have This is a specific. This one is specific to Florida, or at least the subspecies is. And they also created habitat for lots of other critters. And that bottom right-hand photo is a picture of somebody releasing an indigo snake, or maybe grabbing it, but probably they do a release on those guys too, and they try to put them in areas where there's a lot of gopher turtle burrows. Say that 3 times fast. And because they use those burrows for protection, for to get out of the hot sun, to maybe even, well, I don't know if they hunt that much and like that though. They probably do. I don't know if they eat bigger critters though. They're kind of an odd snake. But
And John mentioning woodchucks is a good squirrel because that's the world's largest squirrel.
Well, that's true.
Well, Marmota, that genus, is the world's largest squirrel, and it reminds me of my favorite cartoonist, Mr. Gary Larson, had a had a cartoon about the wildlife management finals when you're in college. and
that one.
And that was the question: was how much wood could a woodchuck chuck? And then it had 10,000 board feet, 100,000 board feet, or 1,000,000 board feet.
That's a trick question, I'll tell you right now.
And there we go. There's the first.
There's a squirrel.
That's the biggest squirrel of the day. Yes, John, squirrels are rodents.
See, you can definitely count that one. I know you're just listening, but that is definitely that's an official first squirrel there. Man, I got this hacking little cough that just drives me nuts. Now here we got a gophorus, but it was listed under both. Like I said, they get confusing between tortoises and just gophers, but they're all related. So, but there's a Texas tortoise, and you can see how they vary by color or the shape exactly. There's some of the western ones, and I couldn't find a good picture of them, or at least I haven't yet. Didn't have time, but there's a Sonoran, but one of those Tortoises that lives out west doesn't it have more peaky or
the scoots?
The
scoots would be kind of peak looking, but those are
no, not pink, but peaky. They're more of a rib.
That's what I'm saying. They're like little mountain peaks.
Yeah.
But they're not. That species of tortoise isn't even native to the United States.
Okay, that's an African thing.
And then the Mojave Desert tortoise and the Sonoran Desert tortoise and the Chihuahuan Desert tortoise, they're all the same species.
Okay. I just realized my photo there of a tortoise drinking water out of the road is probably bad because he looks like he might be drinking soapy water, which probably ain't good for him. I see a lot of bubbles that could be from somebody washing their car or something. But maybe that's just rain. But they will resort to do that, and then some yahoo in a car comes along and says, "Oh, hey, look, John, run over that." Aren't there burrowing owls that also use those turtle burrows? Probably. Yeah, tell me that, Mark. The owls out there, the burrowing owls aren't primary burrowers, are they? Yeah, I didn't think so.
No, they use ground squirrel burrows or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I think there's burrowing owls in Florida, and they probably do use.
Yeah, they are. They use them, and other things too. I was going to add a minute ago. Rattlesnakes use those gopher turtle holes, and whether you like rattlesnakes or not, that's kind of how uh, they are endangered and they're important to the environment. I mean, they're another way to keep checks and balances. You get rid of all the snakes, wait till you see how the rodent population pops up.
Well,
Because rodents can
yeah, I
breed.
mean, that's a key component of eastern diamondback habitat is gopher tortoise burrows.
Yeah, because snakes that live in the desert country or hot country, aka Florida. The only difference is it's tropical, so there's more shit on growing than excuse me. There's more stuff growing green than there is out west, but it's just as dry and hot sometimes as most people know. I mean, it's sandy, and yeah, lots of things use those burrows. I mean, they're eastern diamondbacks.
Vitavu must have been a sacred place to you, John. And you're right. That looks like Vitavu.
And where's that at? Is that out east of Laramie?
Yeah, between Laramie and Cheyenne.
Yeah, is that the Hoodoos or is that?
That's all that rock formation country
Okay.
there. You've seen it. It's right there off the interstate.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, John, you're doing a good job, buddy. You just keep going until your dad calls. You might get a nickel's worth in if you keep trying. So let's move right along to the next critters. And here's a basic range map. You can kind of see where things are. The Florida gophers, aka tortoises. They're showing that Sonora not to get up too far north, but it's basically the same critters like Mark said that's over in here now. And I can't remember which two these are. One of these might be.
The blue one's a Sonoran.
Huh?
The blue one is that Sonoran, Chihuahuan, the blue color on that screen, if you can see color.
Yeah, I can.
And speaking of blue, I'm doing a plug for Deep Blue because I'm getting ready to pour it all over my hands.
They're not a sponsor, however.
We're not a sponsor, but it makes my hands feel good when they're old and arthritic.
Is that an emu product or something entirely different? Squirrel.
It's got essential oils. I don't know.
Well, I didn't know if it was. No, what I meant is that.
Oh, it's not a blue emu.
Okay. That's what I was wondering. Since we're doing that, let me show. Well, you can't see it as well. I'll wait till I'll show off a couple of things too when it's time. When I get through with this. And I showed that turtle before, but this is on Sanibel Island. If anybody knows about Sanibel, that's one of the greatest places to go hunt seashells I've always heard.
So is it gopher with an F or a PH? That's funny.
It's a PH. Oh my
That's
God.
funny all day long right there.
Oh, that's what happens when I get in too big a hurry. I knew it looked wrong. I kept thinking, what? That is not right. Maybe spell that way. Maybe it's the hairy ones.
But you've got gopherus written there. Is that correct?
Oh, probably not.
Well, I just wondered if it was.
Well, I doubt. No, it's not correct. It's PHERUS. Forgive me.
It ought to be an F.
Well, I really did go to school.
It should be an F.
Tim's show is growing and even has ads now, according to Carol. Tina says that's not a squirrel. It's a commercial break. Okay. I'll go for that.
You got to plug the stuff that helps you.
That's true. And And there's one in New Smyrna Beach. If you guys have been over that's right below Daytona Beach. And that's another. Those aren't specific. I just put those in there because people know where they are. And that's probably not. Well, that looks like it's on the beach, but I don't know if they're really on the beach that much because they're not saltwater critters. But I don't know if they swim in the ocean any or not.
Definitely in the dunes.
Yeah, well, yeah, I could definitely in the dunes. And of course, I've already showed that snake. And I've talked about the habitat. And there's a Texas gopher. It's spelled wrong. I've spelled it wrong all through here, guys, so just forgive me. I want to talk about something a little closer to home. I think I spelled bog right.
How come we never found one of them? Maybe you did.
No, I never did because they're not really showing it on this map. I just realized. And that.
Are they even in Tennessee or just on the
No,
North Carolina?
They're in Tennessee up in Shady Valley.
Really?
Yeah, up above Elizabethton.
Yeah.
Up in that area. Yeah, they found, and what I was going to say was they found them there.
Really?
It was before I went to work for TVA. I'm not sure what year they found them, but they started finding them in East Tennessee, but only in that boggy area up there above in Shady Valley. And people that go ahead.
They got them in John's country, and that's. Yeah. I thought they were only up in that part of the world, but heck, they got them in northwest Pennsylvania there too. That's weird.
Yeah, they do.
I wonder if they were escapees or something.
Well, you never know. They could be. Certainly a disjunct. You're right. That's an odd population to be over there. There are a couple places. New York has got some. Looks like.
It looks like up around the Finger Lakes or wherever that is there in western New York.
Carol said I spelled bog right, unless you were referring to hounds. No, I meant bog. Didn't mean dog. Tina wants to know what it is about me and snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? Sorry, Tina. Every time I go to type a comment about tortoises, someone says something that makes me laugh. Well, okay. Everybody's whoa. Everybody stop talking for a minute. And Carol, if you have a tortoise question or a comment, make it now. I don't want you to feel left out. Tina says they avoid her area in New York. Well, I guess they're over there. There's a population probably west of the Finger Lakes, maybe. Just a little bit, or maybe part of the Finger Lakes. And but they are in East Tennessee. They found them. That was kind of a proud moment. I mean, I thought that was really cool, but I never went up there to see them.
Do you have a photo of a bog turtle?
Yes.
Is there a cool looking turtle?
John says where the white and green meet in New Jersey is about where I live. Oh, okay.
Oh. Is that the Pine Barrens, John?
And Tina made a comment about gophers. I think said they like sand. And yes, they do, because they can dig in it well. So can armadillos. I've seen one burrow up in Florida. Man, they can dig and dig. They get underground quick. Carol, do you not have a question or a comment? I was trying to give you a chance to put it in there. He says, looks like it, but they need more pines. I was just thinking, Carol says, how cool and ancient tortoises are and how many people don't seem to be as concerned about them as they are about sea turtles, who are cuter. That's a good question or point. And you don't hear as much concern or people that even know or care. A perfect example of that is they've tried or have either have or have tried to close off areas out west, like in Sonoran Desert, or no, well, maybe not so much there, but in California areas, Mojave and areas where the turtles out there were getting hammered by off-road vehicles and really hurting, among other things, but really hurting the populations. And of course, when they tried to close that area, the Off-Road Society or whatever it's called just was all up in arms about that. Gets all up in arms about that because they don't care about a damn turtle. I mean, that's how they would put it. They want to ride or drive or whatever they do. And anytime, I'll be honest with you, anytime you're dealing with an off-road vehicle situation, one way or another, it gets bad. Teddy just kind of reared up, stretched real big, and yawned, and then he just flopped back over to sleep. I'm not even sure he ever woke up. Western part of New York, where they are, is around the Finger Lakes. Okay, then eastern New York, and then south of me, all around me. So they're all around you, but not with you. Oh, sorry about that, Tina. But they're neat. They're cool little turtles. Let me go to another picture and show you. There's a picture up in the top of a small one. That's a hatchling. That I got several pictures of young, or a couple pictures of them. I may not have them all in here. I had one where it was cracking out of the shell. And when they're brand new like that, a lot of times, sometimes at least, their colors are really bright if they have color. In this case, they have that orange mark behind their head, their eyes in that area. And this one over here is just a drawing that shows, markings that help identify them or whatever. But they, the plaster on the carapace is marked kind of like this, which almost could be a terrapin shell if it was yellow and black, but it's not. But it's again, it's not a terrapin, and I'll show you why here in a minute. And this is part of these critters are under heavy assault from draining wetlands and swampy areas. And I don't even know how old that map was a minute ago. That map the area they're in may have even been reduced more, but they're burning off areas like this, not necessarily to create habitat, but to try to reclaim it if it was boggy or marshy or not their territory, their kind of property now, or their kind of habitat now. So, control fires are used for many things, and that's one of them. And here's a couple of other examples of how they're trying to, explore their life cycle and figure out how they can help them best. They're putting radio transmitters on that one's shell. That's big. I bet today, again, I don't know when that picture was taken, but I bet today they can put a smaller one than that on it, because that stuff's got so miniaturized, it's unbelievable compared to what they used to be. My buddy Steve Cottrell used to talk about putting radio trackers on wood ducks, and he said they were kind of clumsy, and he said they had two straps, and you had to put it around their wings and around their, to get right around the base of their wings to try to secure it. And I guess it was on their back. And
yeah, you make a backpack out of it.
He said apparently, he wouldn't kill me if I told this online, but apparently he had a couple that succumbed to the the strappage because they were too tight while they were trying to learn how to do it. They have web feet. Yes, who asked that? John did, or at least somewhat webbed. And what I was going to finish up, that young lady or in the bottom is part of a research group out of, I believe she's out of Pennsylvania, that was studying bog turtles in several areas, and they're tracking them and trying to work with them, to look at habitat and that sort of thing too. But they're pretty rare. I don't know how many of them they think are left out there. probably quite a few for now, but their habitat certainly has been reduced in leaps and bounds. Let me put that one off. I also think about how
Your
tortoises are losing
your your coffee station has
it's
lost.
lost its habitat. Well, Carol and John are on top of it today. Well, Tina too, for that matter. They're just whipping them right in there.
What's an RFID?
That's a transmitter kind of a thing.
Huh?
That's like a scanner. They can scan it and
Oh,
read it. It's got information. They can read it with a scanner and go over it and catch. Which
but
she's right.
you can't track a critter with that.
Yeah, Tina. That's not a tracker in this sense, because this one was probably getting some either radio signals or possibly even satellite signals, depending on what they are. But I don't know how old that picture is, but they can do that now with little bitty ones. I mean, much bigger than pinheads, but smaller than that. Yes.
Yeah, that big old epoxy thing they're putting on the back of that's got to be from the 80s or 90s.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because it's just, and weird. They looks like they just put it on the side. I would at least centered it up in the back. That looks like that would interfere with his getting around.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I didn't put it on them, so who am I to say? They're out there.
man, I was putting transmitters on turkeys that were, I don't remember what they weighed, but they were about yay big, like yay long.
Yeah,
and they were in that backpack configuration with kind of like bungee cord material.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had to be real careful, or you were going to kill that bird. I mean, it wasn't going to be able to fly right or whatever. And so
Yeah, that's that, and that's why probably why some of them succumb to predators.
and then when we went to Mexico to trap falcons, we were sewing a little transmitter on their tail feathers.
Yes, I've seen that.
And that worked really well. That didn't inhibit their ability to hunt prey or fly or whatever. But
as that technology has shrunk and shrunk and shrunk those things, they can do so much more with them. I mean, it's so much easier now. They can put trackers on bees now. That's how small they have gotten.
We were putting transmitters on mule deer that were not much bigger than the ones had been putting on turkeys years ago, so yeah, it's
putting those on neck collars.
Yeah, and then they've gone so far as you got collars that you basically set a timer and they come off, they get blown off the deer at a certain point in time, like they wear them for 2 years, and then they got a little 22 charge in them that just makes it pop off. And I had one of those go off on my desk one morning, and I thought I was back in the Nam, man. Everybody come running down to my office. I had that thing go off on my desk, and
did it just go off because of its age?
Well, somebody had killed the deer, and they took their pocket knife and cut the collar off the deer and brought it to me. And it was sitting on my desk, and I never even thought about it. And then, when it was supposed to go off, it did. And my office was full of gunpowder smoke, and I was basically under my desk, like, who the heck's shooting at me?
Duck and cover. Yes, Carol, I do believe that controlled burns are beneficial for many reasons. In some areas, like here in Tennessee, which is hard to burn usually in some areas because we're just so humid. We burn grass fields off to help them reproduce and start anew and fresh and create, especially with warm season grasses. Sometimes we did that to get rid of fescue and benefit the native grasses because they're all fire. They're fire. I don't know if I'd call them fire dependent, but they're fire. What's the other word they use besides dependent? Anyway,
Tolerant. Tolerant.
Yeah, they're fire tolerant, and but it helps when you clear out the other stuff that's growing around them. It really helps them grow and create their and they create whole different pathways and stuff for critters. And fescue is the kind of stuff that grows like the hair on your head, and it's so thick they can't get through it sometimes. So yes, I would say that. And then in forested areas here, we would burn that to help do oak release to try to get oaks to sprout up, get rid of some of the other understory, and those fires usually are just small, creepy fires along the ground. Whereas a grass fire, if it's done right, and if the conditions are right, can get up to get pretty blazy for just a few minutes. I mean, they get pretty hot, and the grass fire can get big. I mean, grass fires in the Midwest, the prairie areas used to cover miles and miles and miles. And then, so that's what I was going to also say. And out west, well, actually here too, there's a species of tree here, pine. A lot of evergreens are fire dependent. Actually, they can't release their seed unless it gets hot enough to open the pine cones up so they pop off. There's the Pine Mountain pine here. I think it's Pine Mountain. Is a fire dependent thing, and there's records of the Cherokee even burning some of those areas, and that have a really resinous, sticky cone. So when they get hot, that melts out of the cone, and they pop out, and the seeds hit the ground all over the place, and then they grow up and be big trees. And out west, the same thing goes for out west. One of the problems they've got now in California is areas of large redwoods and what's the other ones? The big guys.
Sequoias.
They need fire too to release their seeds, and they need to burn off the underbrush out there in a lot of places, which a lot of people don't think they should do. But the forest out there are reaching an age that if they don't renew it by, getting these seeds opened up and on the ground and do their thing, when these big ones go away, and eventually they will, there won't be anything to take their place. So, it can be very controversial everywhere, but if it's done right, it can be safe. It is safe. And, it does good things for wildlife. We had a deal here, and it might not be the same all over the state, but we were able to call the Tennessee Forest Service area, the local offices. And here we have units in every county or every other county or something like that. So if they have a wildfire or something, they can respond real quickly. But they would send fire crews to practice with us sometimes so they were ready for emergency fires, and they would send them out, and their guys would take a bulldozer and plow up a line around the fire area to create a break. And then their guys would stand watch over the fire while you burned it off and make sure it was all out when you got done. So it worked out really well for us. That way we didn't have to dedicate as many people to the process. But no, that's not the way to say it. We didn't have many people to go into it. So, they were a big help for us, but that we were lucky to have that, I think. And Carol has another comment about that. I've seen them in the woods and the grasslands here. Good to know they are generally good. I mean, wildfires that are just lost and set by other people, accidentally, that's not always a good thing because the control measures aren't in place. But if you put the control measures in and create the fire breaks, and know how to do a controlled burn, create black lines and that sort of stuff, then they can be very safe. And they are generally, you don't just want to do them everywhere, but there's a lot of places where they can be very beneficial. Even the Native Americans knew that. They burned off. There was a Spanish, I think he was Spanish traveler that might have been with DeSoto, but I think he was with somebody else who actually rode across Tennessee, and maybe it was part of DeSoto's group that rode across Tennessee in those travels. And he wrote stories about how the Indians here were burning off large patches of cane and grasslands. And best he could understand was they thought it was helpful for, create more game. So they probably knew it in different perspectives, but they knew what it meant. So that's why those Table Mountain pines, that's the way Table Mountain pines worked. And the Cherokees burned those off for whatever reasons, but somehow they knew that was a good thing to do. Okay, back to the other part of the story. Thanks for all the questions, though, guys. That's good insight. Here's sea turtles. I've got several of these guys. Most of these guys most sea turtles go all over the world, but some of them nest in parts of different continents, and others go other places. I guess it just depends on what part of the ocean, which ocean they're in. But these are all turtles that are touched or somehow important to North America or tied to North America might be a better word. And the one on the left is a big leatherback. And in this case, she's either digging a hole, which is what it looks like, or covering up a hole, which it could be. It's kind of hard to tell from that photo, but I've seen this myself in Florida, and it's really cool because these turtles come out of the ocean, and if the tide's down, they have a long hike to get up to the. Come over here, bud. You want to say hi, Carol? Say hi, Carol. I'm sleepy. I'm sleepy head right now. Get woke up, get your hair fixed. Get your personal care people down here and get them to get you ready. What are you talking about, old man? Anyway, they just struggled. When these guys are in the ocean, they're graceful and beautiful. But when they're on land and sand, they are lumbering and painful to watch. They just really struggle to get up to where they need to be. And they dig a hole in the sand and lower their hind end. And they do it with their flippers, which aren't, well, I guess they are kind of developed for digging. They have to do it. And they dig a hole and they lower their backside into it. And they drop all their eggs in there, and then they do the same thing to cover them up. Now, there's a couple of problems with that. Predators learn where to find them when they find these. They can probably smell them, but they can find these disturbed areas and dig down and get the eggs. And humans used to. It used to be a big deal for humans to walk along and look for turtle eggs, dig them up. A lot of restaurants, Florida was famous for that, having turtle eggs, just like we would chicken eggs. I don't know what that'd be like, but Carol said, hi, Sleepy Teddy. He said, okay, thank you, Carol. Maybe he'll be awake in a minute. And loggerhead on the right, same kind of deal. And when I talk about graceful, there's a good example. They're just beautiful to watch them swim in watch the aquarium at Disney if you've been in there, or other places too. If they have a turtle or two in there, and a lot of them do, then you know what I'm talking about. They're just really graceful. Oops. What in the Sam heck did I do then? I don't know how that happened. All right, I've lost my cursor again. I got to fix this mouse or something.
I see it.
I
It's
do
on the
too now.
weather.
Well, it disappears off the edge of the screen, and I can't figure out where it's at. I have to get it up in where it's got a background where I can see it. And here we got an olive Ridley and two images over here. This is a hawkbill, one in the water, of course, just flying along. And there's a close up of a head, and you can kind of see where it gets its name. It's got a little bit more pronounced beak than some of the others do. And here's the big guys, the green sea turtle, and it's endangered. I actually think most of these turtles are endangered, and in areas where they came ashore, they do. I think, as far as I know, all of them go ashore to lay their eggs. But there's been a problem, and this is controversial, Carol and whoever, Tina, in Florida because of development, and that because that leads to a lot of light and light pollution. They figured out that light pollution really throws these guys off, and they don't come ashore to lay their eggs, which means we lose a generation of new population. And they finally realized what was going on in Florida in places, and they required blackouts. Basically, they turned off a lot of lights that were on the beach or along the walkways, the boardwalks, that sort of thing. And in the homes, I think you have to have blackout curtains or turn your lights off at a certain time at night so that these guys can, come ashore to a dark beach. And of course, people don't want to do that. They think they shouldn't be inconvenienced by that. But
They're making a big comeback in most of their.
Yeah.
I mean, sea turtles in general have made a huge comeback compared to like when we were kids, when they were
really hurting. Yeah, they were
harvesting the eggs, and even adults.
They used to walk around when the ocean had smoothed out the areas where they laid. They're in the ground, I think, a month or so before they hatch out, I believe. But people would walk along the beach with a spiked pole, and put it in the ground where they thought they might be. And if they came up with yolk on the stick, then they knew they'd found a nest.
Right.
And they'd dig them up, get the eggs out, which is just a bad deal. When I was in Florida, we actually moved. This all was becoming critical when I first went to Florida in the early 70s and lived with a biologist down there when we were down there, and he was all up on this stuff. And that's when they were first really starting to get excited about, that's when the Endangered Species Act came along. What? Who you waving at?
John.
Oh, John. Oh, say hi to Dad. He's rooting on somebody in the Daytona 500 tomorrow. Oh, silly me. I didn't even realize it was around anymore.
Jill Martin in number 19.
What does Carol say here about Bubble Butt? Have you seen Bubble Butt, the sea turtle at Tennessee Aquarium? No, I have not, Carol. Was it? Now, when you say Tennessee Aquarium, are you talking about the one in Chattanooga or the one up in Gatlinburg? Another thing they were doing, if she's going to answer that. Yes, Chattanooga. No, I've not. We've not been to the Chattanooga Aquarium in quite a while. It probably the first year or two they were open was the only time we've been there. And it is a really neat aquarium, the way they take you up to the very top floor mark and kind of walk you down until you're at the ocean, basically. It's like a river, small streams, and then it goes into the big river and it circles around, and you just keep walking down, and you're seeing saltwater fish and then freshwater fish, that kind of thing.
That's the way the So there's a big aquarium in Denver, and it's set up like that. And then there's a big aquarium out here at Salt Lake City that's there. They must follow the same kind of,
Maybe they do.
where they start in like the high mountain streams in your home state,
Right.
and then take you all the way to the ocean, and you've got like sharks and whatnot at the end of it. But
yeah, I guess they do. I was thinking the one in Gatlinburg was a little different. It could be the same thing, but I was thinking it was more salt. I was thinking it was more salty water kind of habit showing, but it might have. Surely it does have freshwater stuff in it too.
don't call me Shirley.
Don't. Okay, I won't. Sorry. I was going to say something else, but we used to find a trail. What we did for a little while when it was, I don't know if we were supposed to be doing it entirely, but when in Florida had a lot of beaches you can drive on, and maybe that's other places too, but the most famous beach to drive on for years was at least in the South, was Daytona Beach. And that's what people went there to do, drive on the beach. And I mean, I've driven on the beach down there. I've ridden motorcycles on the beach, but they closed off some of that section for that because of the turtles. They finally figured out that was also hurting turtles because they were packing the sand down so tightly that they couldn't dig. And
Yeah.
because the whole beach area was active driving, you pretty much could drive anywhere if the tide was out. And, you could even get down the salt water and let it eat your car, bottom your car out. But Carol
I
says,
hear they're doing really good, like on the barrier islands there, like in North Carolina, on the Outer Banks and down through that part of the coast. I heard that numbers are up fairly significantly compared to a couple of decades ago, and
that's good. Yeah, it was bad. Up until
turtles are doing really good in Hawaii.
Yeah.
You probably don't want to be swimming anywhere near a sea turtle in Hawaii because a tiger shark might eat you, because that's their number one predator over there. But it's there are some positives there. They're still probably taking too many of them with fishing nets and things around the world, because some people don't have any conservation ethic at all.
Yeah.
Some countries couldn't give, they don't care that they kill thousands of sea turtles, but
Well, they look at it as a impediment to earning a living sometimes.
yeah.
They put those TED traps, turtle evac something or whatever they call them. They can escape out of them when they get caught in the net, supposedly, or at least it helps some of them get out. But some people didn't like those. I can remember when they really raised hell when they had to put those in their nets and stuff. So, I mean, there's all kinds. And right now, honestly, the worst one, and because what you're saying is true, they're making comebacks. But right now, one of their biggest threats is plastic.
Yeah.
Plastic bags in the water, plastic, and they're finding what they call the little fiddly bits of plastic that settle in the bottom and end up going up the food chain. And
the little fiddly bits of plastic, that's the technical term.
Yeah, that's the technical term. I don't know what the plain term is. I'm glad you pointed that out.
That's what I would have called it, the little fiddly bits.
Well, professionals have, their own professional terms.
Their own professional terms.
that are probably more accurate.
But like your average human probably wouldn't even pick up on that, but
yeah. Yeah, but see, Mark picked right up on that because he is one. But
oh my goodness!
Why there's so much push right now for cleaning plastics.
Now my ribs hurt.
It's micro particles or something of plastic. They break down. some of them break down or get chopped up or broken up, and then end up just in little bitty shards and chunks of plastic, kind of like ocean, what they call sea glass, which is broken, over the generation, broken balls, broken other things, broken those glass floats that I guess those are mainly Japanese, but all that stuff takes effect on wildlife. Let's see where I'm at here now.
Well, when it comes to sea glass, we spend, anytime we go anywhere near an ocean, my wife and I spend an inordinate amount of time looking for that kind of stuff.
Well, there's some places where they're supposed to be able to really find a lot of it. I know there's a area, I believe it's in San Francisco Bay near the.
There's a lot of Japanese floats in that country.
Yeah, but I believe it's along the shore of one end of the other end of the Golden Gate Bridge. I guess up where on the Muir Woods end, that going away north from the city and the bay. I think it's in that area that there's a lot of sea glass, which makes sense because it's right on the ocean, or it's getting ocean currents there and stuff like that. But I've seen a couple of shows on that, documentary type things, where people were out there and they were showing all the stuff they could find. You need to get down, bud. Oh, probably got a potty break there. Let's see which way it goes here. Hang on a minute so I can do an analysis. Yeah, probably a potty break. I thought he was going straight for the food bowl. It might have been time for a snack. Anyway, I thought I'd change that slide. Let's talk about soft shell.
Look at that beauty.
Look at that big old Florida soft shell. And that's a range map for him. I don't know if you guys.
That's a bitey right there.
That's a bitey. Yes, it is. Maybe not like a snapping turtle, but man, they're quick. And that neck they're a kind of a big long turtle.
Goes and that neck can stretch far out of the critter.
Way farther than you think until you get bit. And they are body. I've never I don't know much about their teeth or if they have teeth, but is that like a boned?
They don't have any teeth at all. They just have like a snapping turtle, like a rim,
Like a rim inside their. This one's got more of a lip, let's just say.
And I find fossils of these all over the desert out here.
I've got a picture of a fossil. They found it gray.
They were really common, a really common turtle in this country a long time ago.
I wonder if those
back when we had turtles.
Yeah.
We only have one species of turtle in my kind of end of the state over here, and painted turtles, and they're not very common. We get a few snapping turtles, but they're always imports.
Well, that's a funny thing, because I've read up this week or the last couple of days, and apparently that's a bigger problem than I ever imagined it would be.
That imported turtles?
Well, snapping turtles and stuff being carried across country to,
we had a fisheries biologist that brought me a big turtle one day because he knew I was a herp head. And it was a great big alligator snapper that he'd caught in a lake up by Pinedale in the mountains. And somebody had obviously just like released it because it would never have survived a winter.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, I was surprised it could.
But it was, it was like the carapace was like 18 inches long, and it had a 6-inch diameter head on it. And
jeez.
It's
I don't know. That's those helpful.
Turtle moving is a very common. Kids find them and like, hey, I want this for a pet.
Well, that's true.
And so we end up with like some box turtles over here occasionally, or what. They don't live very long, but you'll find like a box turtle that some kid picked up on their journey, like through Nebraska or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll keep it for a little while, and then they'll dump it out. And it's pretty common.
Yeah, that's true. And
Red-eared sliders.
They used to sell sliders and painted turtles in pet stores. So
yeah, probably still do.
yeah. Anyway, I was going to say, you guys, the folks in here that have been to Disney World, if you've been to, I know you've been to Epcot. Brenda will remember this. She's not been. I hope she hadn't fallen asleep. But anyway, there's a big body of water just before you get over to the World Showcases. You're crossing that bridge. For example, that bridge that's used to have the big trellises over or whatever that were lit up, and especially at Christmas time and whatnot. But there's a big body of water there, and a couple times we've been down there, and I don't know if it was the same turtle or not, but there was a soft shell floating around in that lake that I swear was this big around, just kind of swimming slowly along there. And I thought, wow, what? And I saw one land on the bank one day up in the grass, just sunning, and it was a big soft shell. I'm talking about a pretty big soft shell too, about as big as I've ever seen. And that was right there at Disney World. Probably came in from next door or something. Or
I've seen them like in eastern Wyoming, the spiny soft shells.
Yeah,
laying on a sandbar or something in the North Platte River, and it's like, what the heck is that? Like that? I mean, and you're saying, they're this big around.
Yeah, I mean, they're huge.
And even in Wyoming, and they get big pretty quick, and it's a tasty morsel. Soft shell is.
That's true.
For those of you that like to eat turtle,
which I know some of you are,
which I know almost everybody in the chat does not.
They probably all rushed out last week after the show though, and went looking for
and got them some turtle meat.
Yeah, Brenda remembers him swimming around. He was a big boy, or a girl, but I don't know which one he was. I don't know in their case if they're how much.
Females are ginormous and the males are small.
Okay, well, it's probably a big female because she was big around as a wash tub, as we used to say. It was a big turtle. And then we've seen her down there a couple of different trips. It may be full of them, but that's the only time I've ever seen them one at a time. So I don't know. But they're neat. They're kind of neat. Like I say, like Mark said, they're bodies. They'll reach around and grab you. Here's some spiny soft shells, like Mark was talking about a minute ago. And I'm not positive which ones. I was running out of time, so I didn't get as much detail on these. So I don't know. Do yours look like that, Mark? Or are they different where you're at? Because I can't remember if these are westerns or easterns or Midlands or what they are. Yet again. Yet again, why would you eat turtles when they are perfectly good chickens and cows? Well, it's a delicacy. Uh-oh, I lost Mark. Uh-oh, Spaghetti-O. He probably didn't get to see that, Diana. Carol, you probably do. I think you do have spiny soft shells up there. And she's going to look for it next time you look around in that pond, and you know where the Odyssey restaurant is. It's that whole big lake area or pond there, in that area. And I've seen it all around in there different times. Or one. I can't. What's the matter, bud? You back? You're back.
I don't know what happened, but I went away. I just started getting little spinny things.
Oh, yeah. What? You want up here?
The whole picture went away.
You want to get up or not? Okay, you don't want me to pick him up. He's wanting something. Come over and get in your chair. Hey, come on, get up here. Make an appearance. You ain't done nothing else this morning.
That's an interesting. That's my favorite soft shell, the spiny.
You gonna come over here and say hi to everybody or not?
He ain't gonna. There he goes.
He's gonna get his wages cut, like you said about Boudreaux. He needs it anyway. He's like Boudreaux. He needs it, don't you? You're not gonna say yes, but you do.
Yeah, I had
I want you to see this.
One of my son-in-laws is like, Boudreaux's got back. So he's getting his wages cut.
Oh, Diana G said something else too. Apparently, dogs are delicacies, but I don't eat them either. I don't know if you saw this. This was about time.
Dogs aren't delicacies.
Diana said, yet again, why would you eat turtles when they're perfectly good chickens and cows and pigs? You forgot pigs. Well, they just did, and
well, the Frenchman would say horses are good to eat, but that's just not right.
Yeah, Mark thinks that's sacrilege for sure.
That's totally a sacrilege there.
But you're right about one thing.
Because that's God's dog, Shunkawakan.
Is that what that means?
A sacred dog, Shunkawakan. Well, you know, if you were a Lakota man in the 1500s or a Comanche man in the 1500s, you'd never seen a horse before. And then all of a sudden, here they are, and you figured out you can ride them and hunt off of them and go to war on them.
All kinds of things. Go to war.
They can haul your stuff for you, and they're big. And
all right, why didn't they? There we go. Here's a Midland soft shell, and I thought this was kind of interesting for maybe just for me and you kind of thing. But here we got a map of the United States that shows all the range, all the states here that Midland soft shell shows up in, and even covers Minnesota up here at the top.
Yeah.
But when you really look at the map of Minnesota, the actual Minnesota coverage, it's just about 10 counties down here scattered around the bottom part of Minnesota. So the whole state gets to claim it, but it's really just down in here.
I never even heard of this. Is this a subspecies or a?
Well, I think it's a subspecies, but it's more of a smooth shell.
It's a smooth soft shell.
Yeah. And they refer to it as a Midland because it's where you find it in the middle United States, like Mississippi River drainage and that area. I don't know. I mean, we've got them here, but whether they get up this far in the rivers, I don't know. I don't think that's the one we have around here. It's common.
When you pick this turtle up, you got to grab it by the back of the shell, and then you put your other hand up, like right on top of its head, and hook your fingers into between the carapace and the head. They don't have good handles like snapping turtles. They got a little bitty short bobby kind of a tail, but they sure are good eating. They don't taste nothing like dog.
Okay. No, they're not like dog.
They don't taste.
Diana says she's pretty close to joining Carol in the vegetarian world. You guys are funny.
Humans weren't built to be vegetarians.
They weren't. We're carnivores.
The only reason we have big brains is because we eat meat.
Well, we're omnivores, I guess would be better, but anyway, I thought that was just kind of neat, interesting about the Minnesota map. They didn't do that on any of the other states, although I bet some of these states.
I bet every one of them you looked at, there'd be like 4 counties.
Well, some of them anyway. Or right along the Mississippi, maybe, or
Well, I guarantee you, when you get over to New Mexico, you got New Mexico's in that range map. There's probably like a half a dozen counties at most because there's no water anywhere else.
Did it show New Mexico? Well, it did, didn't it?
Yeah.
Huh.
But I bet it's like the Pecos River, maybe,
Maybe. Yeah, I bet you're
um,
right.
and not much more than that.
There's a lot of New Mexico you're not going to find a big soft shell turtle in
You ain't gonna find any turtle at all.
at all. Yeah, unless it's a desert turtle. What have I got? Teddy, what's out there pecking around looking for food? Which there ain't none right now. I couldn't resist putting these two in. I already talked about the Florida soft shell, but I couldn't resist putting these two. This facial close up. I mean, is that a face only a mother could love, or am I wrong?
Well, the
And that,
cool thing about them is they'll lay down, they'll like bury themselves in the sand in shallow water, and they'll stick their head up in that kind of pose that they're in on that other photo. And that little snorkel, that's all that's poking out of the water.
yeah,
And they'll just sit there like that all day long.
I just noticed that one on the road. That's on pavement, so probably a road. Got a busted shell.
Carol has chosen just not to eat meat. And that's okay.
Okay, I'll live with that. I'm not going to
Yeah.
start that fight. Well, I've seen Carol. She looks healthy enough on her vegetarian diet. I know a couple of vegetarians that looked like they were going to blow away, and they were constantly fainting and falling out. And I thought it probably had something to do with low iron in their blood or something. Anyway, I put those two in there just because I like the poses. And that close up, that's just, I don't know what that.
They're just cool animals. That's what they are.
Yeah, and you can kind of get an idea how long that neck is on this one. It's on the asphalt because um, just he's got it raised up there like that. But
And that's not even stretched out. That
I
thing still could.
I guarantee he can reach his back feet at least. I believe.
He could still reach out there about 3 or 4 inches and bite you if he
Yes,
got,
he could, and would.
and would gladly do it.
Okay, a
But
little bit about painted turtles. I evidently lost some of my painted
look at
turtles.
that beauty. God golly,
Look at that Western paint. Look, isn't that amazing? I love that. And that's not painted by some human. I just want everybody to know.
that's the one we have.
Yeah, that's the one you have. That's the Western painted.
And they're just gorgeous little turtles.
And this is another painted. There's several subspecies around the country of painteds. And this one, you can see the palustrum on this one is really smooth and clean. And some of them in the east, you tell them apart by this. Some of the eastern ones are really kind of a bright yellow, and some of them are this more opaque looking color. And these are the kind of turtles, in some cases, you can buy in pet stores, And this is the distribution of different kinds of painted turtles. And so you can see they cover a great deal of the country until you get out in this southwest country. And
Well, and even the Wyoming range map's not correct.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, they cover way more of the state than that.
Again, I don't have any idea. You never know when these range maps were created. So,
well, they're just based on the data that was available at the time.
Yeah, right. And I was going to say that too. And also people that sit and do this kind of stuff and digitize information like this and create these maps, they don't always get it right.
No, that's correct.
But you can kind of get an idea of where they're at. And unfortunately, this distribution map didn't actually tell who lived where. And after I put it in here, I realized I I didn't have that information, so I was disappointed, but I used it anyway, and that's all my own fault. I just didn't get started quick enough, and I've had a rough week. I only talked to you once this week. That made it. Well, maybe I talked to you twice. Anyway, I can, if I don't get to talk to you, at
I'm
least
sure I was complaining about the cold both times.
I don't care. I can still get to talk to you. And there's the upper side of a Midland painted, and you can kind of those splashes of red are really what sets them apart from just basic sliders. And if you look at it on this Midland turtle in that angle and that position, it just looks like somebody sort of threw it at him and splashed him around his neck, and some of it got on his carapace and dab on his legs there. And this eastern one, with it opened up like that one, you can see you see the more red. I mean, most of the red is under the shell, so to speak. I've never tried to clean one of those or separate it from the shell. Have you?
Yeah, unfortunately, well, I'm not even going to talk about it.
Okay.
David Stanley and I tried to get the lizard out of one of these one day because we'd seen the cartoon.
How old were you then? 5 or 6?
5 or 6, or not. I was probably 8 or 9, and he was probably 5 or 6. But we were.
Well, that makes sense. So you
We wanted the lizard. We didn't want the turtle. We wanted the lizard.
I love you.
Little heathen Appalachian boys. So
yeah. Now here's some sliders. And there's a Big Bend slider, which is Texas country.
Rio Grande
country. And then here's a Mississippi slider, and I think that's a mount from the looks of that picture and everything, the eyes. I think those are glass eyes, but I didn't realize that when I first pulled it up, and then I got to looking at it, and I thought
you were talking about the turtle it's sitting on.
No, I'm thinking both of these are taxidermied. I think
it's not a mount; it's a mount.
It's yeah, well, it's mounted if you want to put it that way. But here's how
I didn't know there was a slider in Baja.
I didn't either till I got to looking them up, and they're probably not very common considering how dry it is down there. But there is a subspecies that can exist down there if they can get wet enough. Which slider, and I was going to look for this and see if I could find it, but isn't it a slider that some people call a creek chicken or a river chicken or something?
There's a chicken turtle that's not. It's probably fairly closely related to the sliders, but it's not. It's not technically a slider.
Okay, I got that.
But yeah, all those river turtles always were a mystery to me. You had all those map turtles and all those sliders and all those chicken turtles, and they all live in the same drainages, especially in the southeast. And it's like, well, I don't know if that's a Washita map turtle or if it was a, red-eared slider or what it was when you look at them. And of course, herpetologists love to come up with new species all the time.
Yeah.
Whether they are or not.
And since the we've been able to define DNA and the qualities thereof. If they can put it in the blender and look for DNA, they can add another name here and there. That happens a lot too.
Yeah.
And I put this in there about Oregon, and now I find out that you guys only have one native turtle, but in Oregon they only have 2, and they have this. I don't know for sure that this is an Oregon pond turtle, but I believe it is.
So we have 3 species in the state of Wyoming that are native.
Okay.
western spiny soft shells, and then common snapping turtle. But they're in extreme eastern Wyoming. And then we have the western painted turtle. But in my part of the state, there's only one, the western painted turtle.
Okay. Well, Oregon only claims to have 2 native turtles, and one is the western painted, and one is the Oregon pond turtle. And of course,
I
they're
never
trying to.
even heard of that one.
No, I hadn't either until I read this. And this sign was part of this sign is actually, you see this sign more where there's a lot of sliders and painted turtles that cross the road, and all turtles back here. I don't know how much I got some detail about this, but I didn't get to put anything in about this. At certain times of the year, I see dozens of box turtles smashed on the road, and
Yeah, which is just not right.
No, that's not right. And I'll see every once in a while. I have seen a soft shell smashed, and I've seen several mud turtles, or snapping turtles. That's what we used to call a mud turtle growing up. Now there is another mud turtle altogether, and
well, I know an awful lot of Appalachians that run over box turtles because they eat my strawberries.
Yeah, and they eat my maters, and they eat my
which is they don't eat very many of them.
No,
they certainly don't do enough harm to warrant being run over.
No, but that's kind of like snake too. Back here we go, Tina, talking snakes again. Get back in here. The back here, it's sort of a sport back here. If there's a snake on the road, it doesn't matter if it's poisonous or not. They will go out of their way to try to run over it with their car, because no snakes. A dead snake's the only good snake. What is Brenda saying? Does the bright coloring ward off predators? Carol asked. I missed that. And I don't know. I'm not sure about that. It could, I suppose. These guys certainly are a food source for some critters, but not so much I'm sure raccoons and such would eat one if they could catch one on a bank, because they'll eat about anything if they can catch it. And maybe small ones might make food for a snapper. But when you get into places where there's alligators or crocodiles, then they get ate a lot.
Yeah, they eat a lot of turtles.
Yeah, they do.
It's fun. You look at some of the cartoons for turtles, etc., and the turtle closes himself up and like hides in his shell, and we only have box turtles in North America can actually do that.
Yeah.
None of these turtles can close themselves up.
No, they can draw themselves in, but they can't really close.
They can't. There's no hinged plastron on the bottom that they can close up and hide away like a box turtle can.
Which is what we're going to talk about next.
Which is the coolest turtle on the planet, as far as I'm concerned.
I used to pick these guys up, like I said, around my area when I worked for TVA, and I can't tell you how many of these guys I picked up off the road to keep them from getting run over.
Yep.
Usually I try to put them on the side they're headed to, so hopefully they keep going. But they're just neat. They're just neat turtles, and I've got a picture of one closed up here in just a second. An interesting thing about these turtles is there's a couple of subspecies, but they're all basically terrapins. And they are all terrapins, I think. But this one's got these guys, box turtles. You can sex them by looking at their eyes. And that one's a male. Ask me why? Because it's red.
And if you look under you got a picture right there. If you look at the bottom side of it, at the plastron, And you can
Yeah,
do this with all turtles, actually. Most
pretty much. Yeah,
if that plastron's got a kind of a cup in it,
yeah, an
uh,
indentation
an
or
indentation that is rounded, it's a male.
and
And
guess
the
what that's
reason,
for, Carol? Did you get the are our slip still good, Carol? Because we're getting ready to talk about uh, reproduction.
well, you just need, if you've got a female that's got a big old rounded carapace on her, you got to be able to fit onto that with, and successfully complete the reproductive cycle.
Yeah, that's right.
There we go.
And you got a round female, and the male's got to have some way to fit there. It's physics.
It's just physics. That's
Yeah,
all it is.
because if they were both flat on the bottom, the math would not add up, and we wouldn't have box turtles.
There wouldn't
But
be
you,
any box turtles.
but you can see what Mark and I were talking about on this bottom, the plastron. I mean, the front closes up completely, and the back is closed up. There's no exposed skin, feet, toes, or anything, which is really pretty darn good protection, I'd say.
Yeah,
And
unless you were like a hyena, that had like bone crushing kind of
yeah,
jaws and a big, great big giant head, you just couldn't eat this animal. Bears might be able to, but there aren't, there's black bears obviously in box turtle country, but I'm not
right.
sure that they're a major predator of this species. The biggest predator of this species is some long bearded hillbilly that thinks they're eating all of his tomatoes.
Yeah, and cars.
Yeah, well, that's the weapon of choice.
Yeah, well, true. And they will smash with a car, unfortunately. Anybody tell me what sex the one on the left is? Just by looking up. Might be the same. Might be the same turtle, actually. That's a female. No, that's a male on the right. And yeah, I think that's a male on the right. And this is a female. See her eyes are different. It's yellow, more yellow than the other ones. Well, those permission slips are good here in Michigan, but everywhere, everyone better check with their own government to see if this conversation should be banned. Oh, Carol, that is a whole nother topic of
We
discussion.
were very careful
I mean, we were very
and
careful. I think
delicate
we're
about
okay.
the whole subject.
Brenda says, no, no, sex-plaining. No, we didn't get that deep into it. But that is the reason that males have concave carapace. I mean, otherwise he'd just keep falling off, wouldn't he? Okay, everybody's been warned. Then you got to check your own state because if you're in the state of Florida, I about guarantee you what we're saying right now is not allowed, at least not in schools. Okay, there's another close up. Well, that's the same picture. I thought I had.
I think you're going backwards.
I think I got. I think I fell asleep this morning. Is what I think. All right, I've got some more. Let me show a couple more that aren't part of the
You
slideshow.
didn't even put snapping turtles in here.
Well, we talked about them last week, so
Well, that's true.
I really didn't put them in there because I felt like we had already kind of covered that. All right, stop, shut down here.
But you got no chicken turtles, no map turtles, no
I told you I ran out of time.
red-eared sliders.
I run out of time.
Most people would say a slider's like a little bitty hamburger.
What are you trying to do? Make me hungry?
Well, I am hungry.
Oh, you're trying to get me to shut up then.
No, I'm not at all. Actually, what I'm thinking of right now is like a chili dog. Man, would that be good?
Yes, it would be. Okay, I'm going to show. I'm going to do the present. You can't see anything right now, right?
just us.
Okay, hopefully this will work without a lot of trouble. And it might be a little bit confusing. But
Oh, I see it. I see like a folder full of turtle pictures.
yeah, and up here in the right-hand corner, for example, this is good soft shell habitat and other things, sliders, uh, red-eared sliders, regular sliders, painted turtles. You can, I guarantee if you canoe through here at the right time of day, you're going to find probably all of them up
Red ears and regulars.
on. You know what I mean? Like that guy. Well, that's actually the bog turtle, isn't it? I'm going to zip through these, and when you this is a really interesting terrapin. This is listed as a diamond terrapin.
I
I've
don't
never
see
seen
what
one.
you're pointing at.
Huh?
I don't see what you're looking at.
Oh, crap.
All I see is the folder full of turtle
Well,
pictures.
they're not getting big on your side.
You ain't clicking on them or something. No. Now it went away entirely.
On purpose. Hang on just a minute. Let me see what this does.
Well, that's a diamondback terrapin.
That's exactly what that is.
It's not a box turtle. That's an eating turtle. Used to be an eating turtle.
Yeah.
Now they're protected, I think, mostly. Those are from John's country.
Yeah, they should be from John's country.
Surf bum's country. That was the most highly sought after eating turtle in North America at one
Really,
point.
even more than soft shells.
Oh, way more. And it was very expensive if you wanted to eat terrapin, like stew or terrapin meat. That it was, you only did that if you were a wealthy individual. You didn't do that if you were a
Commoner.
unless you caught them on your own.
Brenda's off the subject a little bit, but her clownfish are pushing the hermit crab off the rock. I don't know how they're doing that, but that's what she said.
I don't know what their status is now.
I didn't look that up. I didn't have time. I wanted
their population was greatly reduced at the turn of the in the early 1900s.
Right.
But they've certainly made somewhat of a comeback, although probably the biggest factor that's keeping them from just rebounding entirely is habitat loss.
Yeah, and that's what's hurting most of these turtles, actually.
Yeah.
Time to teach Herbie how to defend them.
What a cool looking species that is right there.
Carol, he may have that clown phobia, whatever that's called. I don't know why it's not clown phobia, but it's not.
I got it. I don't like them.
You don't like clowns?
If they're rodeo clowns, they're fine. If they're any other form, they're creepy.
Well, yeah, they've turned them into creepy things. They didn't used to be creepy things.
So my parents got me for my first or second Halloween, got me a Bozo the Clown mask. Remember those plastic masks you used to wear at Halloween? And I looked at myself in the mirror and scared myself and would not go trick or treating. And I haven't liked those painted devils ever since.
Oh, mercy. There's another good picture of a box turtle or terrapin.
That's a beautiful box turtle.
And in case you ever wondered, if you've ever watched, I love Bozo. Carol said she loved Bozo.
I didn't love him at all. I thought he was creepy.
Yeah, I grew up loving clowns, but but clowns never bothered me. But
But
some
you're
of my
just different.
yeah, I'm different. But I really like clowns like uh,
I probably Emmett Kelly.
Emmett Kelly, who was from Johnson City, by the way,
Yeah,
and
I
retired
probably
to
could have
Johnson.
got along with that clown.
I mean, he looked more like a rodeo clown in a sense.
Right.
He wasn't creepy painted, but I don't know. Like, I didn't know there was such thing because I thought clowns were cool. Anyway, I'm going to dab through these, and there's another.
That's it. That is not a turtle at all.
No, but that's a predator thereof. They will dig up and eat the eggs. I found places where they've done that along the riverbank, creek banks here. Well, I suspect it was them. It could have been something else, but most likely it was skunks.
Or a
Because,
coon.
no, or a coon, yeah,
Or a possum.
probably.
Look at that little cutie.
That's a little soft shell, and I can't remember which one this is.
Looks like that Florida subspecies.
It is. It is. It's a Florida species. You're absolutely. It's an
that's a cool. Those are probably as big around as like a 50-cent piece.
maybe, yeah, little guys. That's an Apollone or Apollone ferox.
Yeah, that's the Florida.
Apalone.
Yeah, all of them are Apollone, the genus.
Yeah, and that one's a ferox. Ferox. Which I knew that part was Florida, but I wasn't sure I'm saying the other one right. I think I showed that one. That's a spiny. There's a spiny. There's one of the sea turtles. That might be a hawkbill actually, or an olive, burying eggs in the sand or preparing to lay them. Probably with their see how her actually let's look at that again. See how her back end's under the sand. She may have dug the hole and she may be depositing eggs right there. So their back end's covered up and kind of down and compared to the rest of her. That's a plastron I showed. There's a little bitty, I think it's a bog turtle. Little bitty fella. This is a false map turtle, which I didn't get to talk about. But look at the carapace on those guys, the carapace on those guys is sawtooth. And I think I've got another picture of them here in a minute, which I guess is why they were called map turtles.
So that's a good example of sexual dimorphism.
Good point. Male and female. Yeah, you're right.
The male's on top, little big guy, and the female's a great big old gal. Pretty typical in turtles.
This is a big Ben slider. I may have already shown that one. Big goat.
There's a tortoise.
That's a bog. That's
Bog
another
turtle.
bog turtle picture. Yeah. And I don't think they get a lot bigger than that. And here's somebody doing the recording for some kind of turtle. That's bog turtle.
Another bog turtle, I think.
Yeah, bog turtle in Pennsylvania. Well, his markings on his front legs were throwing me off a little bit. That's supposed to be in the Pennsylvania area. They're monitoring them there too. That might be an old picture because that's an older pair of binoculars.
Yeah, buddy.
Then
Another
again,
bog turtle.
Yep. And then again, he could be a poor student. That's all he's got. There's a good picture of a bog turtle. That looks set up, but might not be. And there's one of the other researcher. I didn't show her. I don't think I showed her. But she's working with the same group along the Appalachians and up into Pennsylvania in that area doing research. I think, well, they're out of Massachusetts is who's running the study. I showed that one. There we go. There's a box turtle laying it, depositing eggs in a hole. And there's another one that's slightly different colors. It's still an eastern box turtle, female.
They're just beautiful turtles.
Yeah, they are. And they make good rattles.
They do.
There's
That's weird. I was just getting ready to say the same thing.
Well, you know what they say about minds thinking alike.
Yeah, twisted minds think alike.
And this is a picture I had on the front starter slide, the thumbnail, and I just thought that was a really good picture too, because that really does show a lot of good markings for an eastern box turtle.
Plus, you can age that turtle really nicely there with those. I mean, could probably do it on this, just looking at this slide.
Probably. I could probably even blow him up a little bit bigger. And you could about count the rings on him.
Yeah. So he's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, that I could tell.
At least, yeah.
At a minimum.
I caught one time. Again, I think it was crossing the road, and I just barely saw it, but it was only about this big. And it had the prettiest shell, and all the edges were sharp. It hadn't worn anything down yet, slick or anything. But it was just a little bitty guy. I don't remember if it was male or female, but I don't know. I don't know if you could tell at that age or not. But anyway, I really like this picture because it shows the shell markings. But look at his front legs. I mean, it's really got that yellow and black coloration on their skin, or their front legs anyway, which I thought was kind of cool. That's another picture, and that's from West Virginia, they said. And again, you can see there's kind of different shapes on the color. Oh, what I was going to say a while ago, if you've ever wondered what those crazy helmets are that Maryland wears, University of Maryland, I believe it's University of, they're copied after these things. Terrible.
Really?
Yeah, that's why they're so weird looking. They've got a part of it's supposed to represent a terrapin, a box turtle, and part of it's the state flag. And I don't know if their state flag has the terrapin on it or not, but that's why they're called the Maryland. They were called terrapins. That was their name.
Well, and it's always been funny to me that they call this species a terrapin or a tarpon. The people where I grew up called them tarpons.
Yeah.
And they ain't tarpons at all. They're not terrapins. They're not tarpons. They're box turtles. They're not really closely related to the actual terrapin, which was that one turtle that I said people love to eat, but they don't love to eat these guys.
No, not that I'm aware of.
I've never heard of them being used by humans as food.
No. Might keep us posted on how your dad is. If we're off the air here in a little bit and you're still in there, then you probably will be. He said he's in the emergency room. So drop me a line. I'll post it on the side, or you can, of course. Diana says she thinks they're kind of cute.
They are cute. They're cool. They're the coolest turtle ever, and they make pretty easy keeping pets.
Yeah.
People. A lot of girls and boys where I grew up and where Tim grew up kept them as pets, and they eat mostly vegetation and fruits and things of that nature, and
they will eat a red worm.
Pretty easy to keep and pretty low maintenance kind of a pet, and they tame down pretty quickly. And
yeah,
I mean, when you first catch them, they just close themselves up in their shell and you can't even see them, and they'll stay in there for hours.
Yeah.
and if they, as long as they feel threatened. But after a few days, they kind of get used to being around folks, and I always love. They're like my favorite turtle ever. But they weren't for eating; they were just for looking through.
Outlaw just said Chief Dan Jordan, the outlaw Josie Wells. Yeah, Carol, if you look at a helmet or a flag, I said I'm not sure about their flag, but if you look at Maryland's helmets, when I first saw them, they weren't always like that. I think they used to have something else on them. I said terrapin, I don't know, but if you look at them, it's sort of like this. I mean, there's different patterns, but that's what it's supposed to represent.
They always
I didn't know that till I read about
it. An individual scoop on the back of that carapace with that design always reminded me of like Mayan hieroglyphic, the little, for lack of a better term, like a cartouche that the Mayans would have used, that they had their writing on.
Yeah.
Before like Europeans were using writing, they were writing, and they were really intricate looking letters, if you will, and that's what box turtles always reminded me of, like that they'd been painted by a Mayan. But
well, that's a good thought. Hey, Francisco, welcome back. I don't know if he's been here the whole time or not. Yeah, they are cute dying, and they're not aggressive. I mean, they could probably bite, and I mean, they can bite. They eat and they chew up things, and they eat tomatoes and strawberries, like Mark said. My mom used to fuss about them chewing on her tomatoes if they got down near the ground. But they don't climb up in the vines or anything like that to get them. They just have to be able to reach them. But they do eat stuff like that. But they're not aggressive. If you go pick one up, like Mark says, it just retracts into its shell and it'll stay there until it doesn't feel threatened. A lot of times, if you just set it back down on the ground and you're quiet, it'll just get right back up and run away, sort of. I mean, as well.
They don't run very quick.
No, they don't run very quick, which led me to the subtopic of my story earlier that I think the hare should have won. I think he would have won if he wasn't Bugs Bunny. There's a good picture of one.
That's a beauty.
Again, look how much darker the carapace is and his markings, and that's still listed as an eastern.
And they all look, turtles in general, box turtles, river turtles, whatever, look like they're mad at the world. They all have kind of mean looking eyes and a big old beak, and they're not,
but they look that way.
They just look like grumpy old men.
There's another painted carapace I showed earlier. No, I think maybe it is, maybe it's not. I think I showed that one too. And there's a map turtle, of some false map turtle or something, laying eggs in the grass or in a grassy area where they've dug a hole. So see, they dig too, but they dig with their front legs, not with their back fins like a sea turtle. Well, sea turtle actually uses both ends, but I think these guys mostly dig this with their front. But now I'm saying that, and I'm thinking, am I lying about that? Because they've got good claws on their back feet too.
But nothing like their front claws.
Yeah, but their front claws just look like they're made to dig. Now they can start walking. I've had them walk, me holding them funny, and they'll actually get, if they get used to you, but they'll pop out. And I have had the claws scratch me before, just because they'll start trying to walk in midair, and they'll be grabbing for for things, and there's nothing there to grab.
But I think you're right. I think they're digging that hole. I think they dig the hole with their front feet.
I think they
And
do.
then they lay eggs in it, and then they cover the hole with their hind feet.
And then they
They just push that dirt back in on top of the. What is that?
Well, that's another hatchling, but I'm not sure which.
It's got to be a tortoise.
Yeah, I think it is, but I can't remember which one.
Yeah, so when I worked in Arizona, we would get calls that there was like somebody had found like a desert tortoise, and on the edge of town or whatever, and you'd go out there and there was an Egyptian or African tortoise that was real popular in the pet trade.
Yeah.
And every time I ever went on one of those calls, it was that critter. It wasn't an actual desert tortoise. It was
an escapee, likely.
and you were talking about those peaked kind of
Yeah.
scoots, and they have those, and so it was like some kid had left the gate open or whatever, and the tortoise got away.
Oh, Laura Jean, I didn't see you come in. I apologize. I was busy talking. Pretty sure this is another little bog turtle just coming out of the shell.
I think that's a clown.
You think that's a clown?
I think that's a clown coming out.
Well, maybe it is. If it is, there might be 20 more packed in there. Like a little car.
Come rolling out of there like at the circus.
Yeah, now here's an interesting picture. It's not a very good picture, but I've seen this. This is 3 male turtles biting for territory by having a duel or fighting match. And here's one. One of them's got rolled over on his back, which they can get off their back usually, as long as they're not lodged against something.
That's what that big long neck's for.
Yeah. And that's true. Because they'll stretch that thing out and flip back over. They get a claw in, they can grab and turn too, but they use that neck a lot. But there's 3 male box turtles having a fight over who's going to get the girl or girls. That is a different kind of mud turtle, but I think it's oriental. And I stuck it in there because I downloaded it to the thing. I was going to look it up and see if that's another exotic.
Looks like a yellow mud turtle.
Well, it might be, but I think I'm pretty sure they called it something Chinese or something, but I'm not sure.
Well, that's a stinking turtle right there.
Yeah.
So the mud turtles and then there's
mud turtle or stink pots mud turtles.
I've been around like 3 species of mud turtles, and they all stink really badly. And then the stink pot is closely related to them, and obviously it stinks.
Yeah.
That's the nastiest little turtle ever, the stink pot. Now I got a publication on a range extension on one of the mud turtles.
Oh, really?
In Arizona, yeah.
There's a red-eared slider.
There is a red-eared slider.
I didn't get him in there earlier. I need to get through these.
That was the most popular pet trade turtle in the world.
Yeah. So if they got extended range, that's probably why. Because
they sold them by the millions, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were definitely they've been scattered all across America because of that.
Yeah. Well, you could buy them all kinds of places. They'd have them in roadside, souvenir stores and stuff sometimes. And
yeah, stop at the Stuckies like on I-10 or something and get you a pecan log and a red-eared slider.
I was gonna look and see if I can pull up the date. I think this is another tarp or box turtle, but I believe this one's cloaked down in Florida, maybe. And you can see the difference in its markings. It's still got black and yellow, but the yellow is more of a spots, and the head looks different. Front legs look different, but that's still a box turtle, an eastern subspecies. Now, there's the scariest thing you're ever going. That's the biggest turtle I know in the whole wide world.
It's the biggest western painted turtle. Look at it.
Look at that. That is at the international. Well, I don't know if international is the right word. That's at a crossing point for Canadian customs and the border police, whatever, an hour. That's on the U.S. Canada border, I believe, and it said, and I can't remember where. I know if I pull up the right.
Oh, you got to find that. I need to know where that is.
Well, I know where it is. I'll tell you in a minute.
That's like going to see the world's biggest ball of twine. You got to know where those kind of places are at.
He's known as Tommy the Turtle.
Tommy?
Tommy the Turtle.
It's got to be in New York.
No, it's not. I'll tell you just in a minute where it is, but I wanted to make that my last slide, and I was going to say, and here is the biggest turtle known in the world.
It's probably in Washington State. Then it looks like a western painted turtle.
No, I swear it might be Manitoba. I wanted to show this one real quick because I didn't get this in either. Here's another.
That's a fossil.
Yeah, they dug this one up at the Gray Fossil Pit that we talked about earlier last year sometime. And I just wanted to put that in there to show you that turtles have been around for a long, long time.
Well, my daughter found one that's like this big around. It's still in the rock just across the road from the house here. Huge turtle.
And there we are, folks.
Now, you got to tell me where that daggone turtle's at, dude.
Right there it is. Diana just told you. I don't know how to pronounce that. Boissevain, Manitoba. She's got it written down there.
What would be the corresponding American town if it's on the border?
Oh, well, I'll have to look that up.
Maybe there's not one of those.
Well, there may not be. It may just be
maybe there aren't. There's no town on the American side.
It's possible. I just know it's in Canada.
So the statue is in Canada, but it has an American flag and a Canadian flag. And
yeah, but it's just
North Dakota.
Do they say A up there too? I think they do. Well,
in North Dakota?
Yeah.
Well, all I know is that my friends that are from that state, they make fun of my accent, and I make fun of them too. So they're from
as you should.
North Dakota. Okay.
Hey, all right.
Diana's allowed to say "hey."
That's right. She can.
Everybody can't say that.
It's a border town. This map I'm looking at doesn't show what's on the southern side in the U.S.
Well, if it's in North Dakota, it's probably not much of nothing. Maybe Mandan, or I don't think Mandan's on the border, but
well, that would be above North Dakota, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Which?
Manitoba.
Well, Saskatchewan, and maybe even part of Alberta.
Yeah. I was just, but thought that one was for sure. I'm pretty
But
sure it is.
Saskatchewan would be the most of the border, I think, with North Dakota. But
Wow, there's a rich guy there named Adolfo or Adolf Boyce and Vane, who helped build the Canadian Pacific Railroad, which Gordon Lightfoot wrote a song and sung. Well, I bet there's another way to find that if you look that up. But if you go on Google, you can probably figure out what towns there in America. Easy enough.
I will when we're done.
And
Boissevain. Boissevain.
something like that, eh? I'll stick with the crossing at Windsor. Carol said, "Thank you very much." She's not going to cross. She thinks that's a pretty scary looking turtle. It's pretty big.
I think it's cool that they painted the belly up just like a Western painted turtle.
Yeah, because somewhere down here they might have painted it up to look like a damn clown or a Cherokee chief with a big giant headdress on in front of a teepee or something. North Dakota. Tina said that's pronounced North Dakota.
Dakota. Yep.
Catch up. Well, guys, I have once again you've chose to waste away 2 hours, 2.5 hours of your morning. Look up Diana says look up the International Peace Garden.
International Peace Garden.
Yeah. And I know before I say bye, I know you're probably hungry and won't get going, but I have a question I need to ask you before you leave.
Me?
Yes, it won't take me but a minute. I promise I won't keep you. But don't just cut and run yet.
I'm not. I'm sitting right here till you ask me.
Okay.
And then after you ask the question, I'll just leave.
You're gone. No, I want to answer. You got to answer. All right, guys. Thank you all for being here today and putting up with my turtle. If you have any questions.
That's pretty cool. It looks like my fingers are like rubber.
There was a way I used to, a pen. I know what it
like
is.
Doing that. It's like taking the pencil and doing that.
Yeah, doing the rubber pencil thing. If you guys have if you do have a question, you probably won't, but if you do have a question, send it to me in the Instagram chat box or the whatever they call that, the Tennessee Shine page, and I will answer it if I can. I'm still giving that turtle a wide berth. Hey, Dave, glad to see you. We're just getting ready to go, buddy. Everybody, welcome. Say hi to Space Mountain Dave before you leave. So we're saying goodbye for the day. I've been on here a couple hours and a half now. I haven't been wasting nothing. I've been using your troll bat. Good for you, Tina. I started to ask you about that this morning. She said she was battling troll bots in somebody else's live stream this morning. And when I first met Tina, we were somewhere in a chat room doing that kind of work or talking about that kind of work. And she said something about it was like whack-a-moles. And so I went out and found a ball bat about this long on Etsy. And I ordered it and had her name engraved on it. It said Tina McNeil's troll bat or something like that. Sent it to her just for gee whiz. And so that's what she's talking about by her troll bat. All right, guys, I'm going to cut everybody loose. Mark's about to starve to death. I can see through him almost. He's faded. Faded bad. Thanks for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. We did. And, of course, you know by now that we can talk about just about anything. Whether it's interesting or not, we probably got an opinion or some information that you probably never thought you needed. But now you might need it. You might use it. Tomorrow you might use it. You might look up someone from University of Michigan or something and say, You know what? Them helmets, those Maryland, those crazy helmets, those guys at Maryland wear football.
Got like box turtle markings on them.
I bet you didn't know that because they probably don't. If they're like me, they kept looking at them things saying, "What in the heck?" That makes sense. All right, guys, this is it. I'm going to say bye. So everybody have a great rest of your weekend. If you like ice hockey, there's an outdoor ice hockey game on later today or tonight. I believe it's in Carolina. I believe it's the Hurricanes against some. Oh, I think it's the Hurricanes against Washington Capitals. Ought to be a pretty good game if they have weather appropriate.
There ain't no football though. There ain't no football.
No football, no. There's probably some rodeo on somewhere. I always learn.
There's rodeo. I'm watching rodeo.
Carol says, I always learn plenty here, usually far beyond the intended content. Well, I'm sure you do, Carol. It just sort of spills over everywhere. There's fountains of worthless knowledge.
We're like Wikipedia, dude.
Yeah, that's right.
We go in there looking for like the ancient Egyptians, and they end up like searching on like some kind of mollusk in South America.
We're a rabbit hole.
We are around
anywhere in any time period in the world.
Oh,
we'll explore just about anything. So if you got a topic you'd like for us to discuss, let me know and we'll look into it.
You what?
All right, guys, I'm going to really shut it off this time. See you later. Everybody have a good weekend. Bye-bye.